Right? Because we have a lot to cover. So we're going to talk today about embracing equity and really what equity is and how it relates to your work here at Pew. I do want to start with a land acknowledgement that we are on land that we are occupying land that was stewarded by the Anacostan or Nacotchtank people and Piscataway people until settler colonialism pushed them out. And we acknowledge that we are here today because of the stewardship and that they continue to live, work, and thrive on this land. For those of you who are joining virtually, you can go to native-land.ca to find out what indigenous land you're inhabiting as well. So let's start at the beginning, right? In 1976, on a bright August day, my parents came to this country with $20, one suitcase, and their medical degrees, and my mother pregnant with me. Somehow, without Google, they found their way out of the airport, which, even though I was born before Google, I still find that surprising. And into Greenpoint, Brooklyn, where they had medical residencies lined up. And that first year was some pretty severe culture shock for them, even though they were coming actually from England. My father says that he saw more gunshot wounds in one night in the ER than he had seen in 4 years of surgical residency in England. My mother slept on a sleeping bag on the floor for months while she was pregnant with me. The hospital, which was sort of two buildings, needed a security guard to walk the residents from one building to the other because so many had been mugged by people who were living with addiction and pushed out onto the streets instead of invited into the hospital for care because of the financial mismanagement and very racist war on crime that was happening in New York at that time. Somehow, they found their way out of Brooklyn into the greener suburbs of Staten Island, where they bought a house, started a private practice, had 2 kids, sent them to school and college debt-free, were stellar members of their community. My father even made New York Magazine's list of best doctors 8 years, not in a row, but 8 years total. They mix it up. They can't let you be on it every year. And by all external trappings, they live that, Horatio Alger tale of, that hard work, determination, and success will get you the American dream, right? That's how we like to tell immigrant stories. And yet, that is not a full picture of the story. If we look at it with the systems lens, we have to go back to 1965, where the civil rights movement, which was predominantly organized by Black women, advocated for the passage of the Naturalization and Immigration Act of 1965. Before 1965, the United States had a law that doled out green cards and visas in order to preserve the homogeneity of North America, meaning the white majority. And after 1965, because of the civil rights movement, the U.S. changed its immigration laws to give out visas and green cards according to either family ties or labor needs. And that made my parents prime recruits because in the 60s and 70s, there was a perceived doctor shortage in this country. But even in that act of equity, there became certain inequities in that the U.S. immigration system began to take advantage of socialized education in other countries to meet its labor needs. My parents, who both came from relatively humble backgrounds, went to medical school for what was about $50 a semester. That sort of socialized education is not available in this country to the citizens or residents of this country. And so when we hold up Asian Americans as model minorities, it is, at best, like ignorant, and at worst, it's very vicious gaslighting. Because it is failing to account how the U.S. immigration system is taking advantage of socialized education in other countries and not providing that for residents in this country. And I believe that if we did, you would see just as many people with poor parents and brown skin who become doctors, lawyers, and engineers as you do in the Indian diaspora.